What's going on, everybody? It's Jeff Kirkshin. Welcome to Do What You Love. And to say I'm excited for today's guest would be definitely an understatement, because if you've listened to the podcast before, if you follow me on social media, you know I'm obsessed with TikTok. But most importantly, I'm obsessed with what TikTok can do. I love the funny videos. I love the creativity, but I think it's really helping young artists, young comedians, young people in general find their way in this world. So today we are bringing in my new friend, Chris Housman. Good morning. What's going on?
Morning. Not a lot. Just enjoying a beautiful day here in Nashville. Yeah. Thanks for
Chris,
having me. I'm excited.
of course, and you are becoming a star in country music. You're becoming a star on TikTok as well, and it's all because of this one song you've written that has just completely blown up. I found your video on TikTok, and I thought it'd be pretty cool to, before we get talking about it, to show everybody watching and listening so that they can see this and give you a follow. So let's watch this video.
So I'm gay and grew up in a town of literally 200 people, and I'm about to put out the song I wish I heard growing up. Grew up with cornfields in every direction, and that's where I learned all of my lessons about life and living without fences in the land of the free to have opinions. If you work a job, you ought to make a living. George Strait or George Gay, there's no difference. People need help, and I think that we should listen. 3 chords, and my truth is I'm a good old boy with a bleeding heart, just a homegrown hick with a hybrid car. I think all means all, and I know we all just want to know that we belong. And there's a lot more color in the mix when you're loud and proud out in the sticks. I am what I am, you get what you get. Yeah, I guess I'm a red state Blueneck.
All right, so there's a lot to unpack here. There is a lot in that awesome chorus of Blueneck, and I love this song because as a country music radio host, I think that country music has spent a long time in an appearance of not being inclusive. I don't think it's necessarily that way, and I want everybody out there to realize that. But from the outside looking in, and even sometimes from the inside, some people aren't as inclusive as they should be. And I think this song speaks a lot to it. I have so many questions about it, but the first thing is, like, kudos to you, man. You are writing a song that's telling your truth.
Thanks so much. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I went into this wanting to write the song that I wish I heard growing up as a kid, as a person who knew he was gay and different in a very small town in rural Kansas. So yeah, it's nice. I think we got that done.
Well, Chris, and I hate to be this guy, but I think a lot of people that are going to be watching this might not understand what it's like to come out as a gay man or a gay woman. And I think a lot of people, at least in my experience, I remember when I announced that TJ Osborne was gay on 102.7 Coyote Country. And I said, this is beautiful, the support of his brother and the support of the country music community. Somebody emailed my co-host Amy and was legitimately asking, why is this beautiful? Why did Jeff say this is beautiful? And asking, I'm not sure. And they actually wanted to be educated. They weren't trying to be rude. They weren't trying to be insulting. And I told Amy, I said, I think they're actually asking. So let's not sit here and think, oh my gosh, come on, people. So take us through a little bit for you, your family, your small town. That moment, it meant a lot. Coming out is a very, very big thing.
Oh yeah, it is a very, very big thing, pretty much regardless of where you were raised or grew up, geographically and maybe in the political landscape of that place. But especially in places where it's not so normal, not so accepting, a lot more conservative. For me personally, I had never met an openly gay person until I moved to Nashville at 18. When I came out, I was the only out gay person I knew personally. So, and even since then, I'm kind of shocked now looking back that I did that so early. But at the same time, like, it still took really, I'd say at least a decade to really accept it myself. Because and putting in the context of country music, I kind of saw this opportunity, or I mean, I saw it as like, okay, well, I can either be openly gay as this new person that just came out in college and enjoy life, or I can continue doing music like I grew up doing. And I honestly put music on the back burner for several years because I didn't see a way that you could do both. I had never seen that happen.
That's so interesting, Chris. And I hate to interrupt because the podcast is called Do What You Love. And you're literally saying I had the choice between doing what I love, which is music, or being who I am. And that should never, ever be the case. But I completely and totally understand how you might think, if I'm going to pursue country music, I truly can't be myself. Whereas, like, here I am, a straight white male, mind you, so I've had no problems in my life whatsoever. But doing what I love, you know, getting a chance to talk with people, and truly just living my own life and being myself. So I couldn't imagine having to choose between one of those two avenues. That's exhausting.
Yeah, it definitely is exhausting. And I mean, it's a year, at least a few years thing for anybody, I would say. And yeah, so like TJ, for example, it was a pretty well-known thing in town for the last few years. I know TJ a little bit, but the industry has known, and Nashville has known for a few years. So if you look at, okay, well, what was holding him back from coming out? Well, the only thing was, you know, a fear of, you know, sabotaging their career, and fan response and the radio response. And I mean, and it was just so brave of him to do that while his career is still going on. Because there's some pioneers that have done that, like, and I just met Ty Herndon for the first time the other day, and he's a big fan. You know, he like came out, and that's huge to see that representation, but there still hadn't really been anybody, at least male wise, you know, currently signed to a label and publishing deal and currently on the radio. So it's huge. Yeah.
So Chris, for you, you know, you just mentioned TJ Osborne and Ty Herndon, perhaps two of the biggest country stars to come out as gay. And for them, going from, you never knew a gay person before, never knew an openly gay person before when you came out, to now these country stars who are literally living their life and doing country music as a gay man. Do you see this as some sort of inspiration or some sort of vision, and you could actually follow this path that they're on?
Yeah, I absolutely see so much inspiration and purpose, and hope in them, you know, successfully doing that. And I mean, their response has been, with TJ, it was really unfortunate that news came out the same day as the Morgan Wallen news, and kind of maybe got overshadowed a little bit because that was a really beautiful thing, like you said. But I was so pleased to see the overwhelming response. And I also I was even trying to dig. I went to the depths of like Facebook pages for like country, like journalist stuff. And I was reading through the comments. I was like digging, like, okay, what are the people, the fans, like saying? Because I was curious, you know, for my own sake, like, what is he just getting ripped apart by fans and stuff? But I didn't see that much either. I mean, things have just changed so much. Now, I did see a lot of, you know, I could care less, or why does this have to be a thing? And less genuine responses than the person that, you know, that was asking, like, why is this a beautiful thing? But, and that is, I can understand, like, I see where they're coming from with, like, my upbringing. I understand those people and that is their response. But that's kind of part of the problem. Like, I could care less. Yeah, but I also care more, you know?
Yeah, and Chris, I think you brought up a great point, is I think that saying, you know, and I saw a lot of those comments too, right? I'm so curious, how are people responding? And I'm in radio, so I'm like, how did other radio hosts approach this, so to speak? And a lot of people saying, like, oh, why should I care who's sleeping with who? And it's like saying that, you know, Blake Shelton sleeps with his fiance every night, Gwen Stefani. It's like, no. This is different. And if you ignore the fact, if you stand by ignorant of the fact that this is, you know, important to address, then you're kind of being part of the problem a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And like you, yeah, again, personally, it's a thing that held me back for years from doing what I love. It literally is the one thing that was holding me back from that. And so many people, you know, whether it's in music or otherwise, there's so many people that is the case for.
So, Chris, you've been in Nashville for 13 years now. Does that sound about right?
Yes, just past 13 years.
So, Chris, for you, you've been writing music and you've been working in Nashville, and you know, even yourself, you said, okay, you know, there's a lot of people in the Nashville community that are very accepting of this, yet it still takes artists a while to come out. But for you, you've been writing music, you've been doing things now for a little while, and just now you write Blueneck. Why is it taking you so long? And that's not calling you out, that's a legitimate question. Why now?
Sure, yeah, and that's a great question, honestly. I honestly, a lot of it had to do with just kind of getting older, caring less about what people thought. That was a huge part of it, and that just took years and time and therapy and all, you know, combination of things. But I also saw this a few different things. I saw this opportunity because even with like TJ's coming out, there still has yet to be somebody who's like kind of been openly gay or LGBT from the beginning, and you know, kind of has to rise through the ranks. So I still think that would be awesome to see or be a part of, and then also like even these like workshops that I was doing, I just kept hearing over the past year. I was doing these virtual workshops and kept hearing from these industry people like authenticity matters, and they're, you know, using like Priscilla Block as an example, who also blew up on TikTok, and she was just being so herself, and that always translates, even if it's something that, you know, it's not like, oh, if you're not gay, you won't connect to this or something, you know, but people connect to authenticity. And so I was even inspired by, oh yeah, like, wait, I can, like, being myself could actually give me an advantage.
Yeah.
You know, I had been watering myself down for a long time. So,
well, and I think what I do and what you do are similar. You know, you tell your stories through song, and you know, you do radio interviews now, which is a big deal, and I tell my stories through talk show. You know, me and my co-hosts wake up every morning and we tell the truth, and I think something that was so fitting, and I have to give kudos to my co-host Amy. She's married to a black man, so she has 2 mixed children. And in country music, there are people out there, unfortunately, not even just country music, forget that, in our country, that don't think that that's okay. And she recently had a bout with a very, very rude multiple Instagram comments, I might add, from one very terrible person using racial slurs on her Easter and 2-year-old's birthday photos. And it's just like, and she came out and, you know, she called me crying. She said, I can't believe there are people out there like this. She said, I just want to respond back and be all angry and throw some F-bombs at him and do all that stuff. And she goes, but, you know, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. She said, how can I talk about this? I said, whatever you want to say. And she came to our audience and talked about it. And I said, if there's one person out there listening that maybe thinks a mixed race couple is not okay, but then they hear a human being that they listen to every single morning, they trust in their life, and they maybe didn't know that her husband was black, maybe that could change their mind.
Absolutely. And that is, I've spent so much thought on that exact thing. Like, what does it take to break through to people who maybe haven't experienced any sort of oppression whatsoever, or and if they haven't had a personal connection to it, a personal attachment, then you would hope that people would still have the empathy to be like, oh, I see that, you know, these people are being treated differently or having a harder time just because of something that's out of their control. But a lot of times, I mean, and I've encountered this with my family and several friends, that sometimes it does take like, oh yeah, this person I trust and love, and they are, even in her case, Amy's case, like, you know, kind of secondhand experiencing that hate. Yeah, I think that's what that exposure. I have this whole, like, pages and pages of thoughts and notes on the importance of like exposure. So yeah, that's exactly, and yeah, we do have to have those hard conversations though, and like, take a minute to like maybe drop the F-bombs privately and stuff, and then and collect.
Which she did. She did.
Got to do that.
Yeah.
And it's but and then collect thoughts, and because it's just so much more impactful if you can like maybe change some minds in the process.
Well, Chris, let's lighten things up. You are an artist. You've been living in Nashville for 13 years now. You've released this amazing song named Blueneck, and it's blown up all over TikTok. How many followers are you at right now?
I think 93,000. Yeah. And I had 70, not 70,000, 70, like 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Wow. Chris, well, I mean, honestly, we had you on our show, 1027 Coyote Country, Jeff and Amy in the morning, and now to have you kind of in a longer form podcast, I absolutely love this because I think you've got a lot to say. But the cool thing is, you're going to be wearing this for a little bit, and you're going to do a lot of these interviews, and you're going to say, okay, I'm not just the gay guy in country, I'm more than that. So tell us, what else? Are you recording more music? Are you planning on releasing an EP? For you've been doing this for a while. You're not just some guy in his basement who just wrote one song and it blew up on TikTok. You're a music writer in Nashville. I think that's what attracts me to you is I love the average Joe stories, but you're also writing a lot of music in Nashville. So what's next?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited about the future. And like this, yeah, I so want to make this not just that was cool when that one song and one video, took off. I have so much more to say, and yeah, I'm glad you asked that because so I've put out 3 songs before over the past year and a half, and I mean they were kind of just like middle of the road country songs, and I mean honestly like the first song, Long Story Long, which I still think is a solid just country song, but even that I was like, okay, I gotta like kind of do some safe songs to start with, right. And I'll get to the stuff I like really want to say, but yeah, so I'm but with this song Blueneck, I wasn't planning on, honestly I put it on, I think I talked about this on the radio show, but we wrote the chorus that day and I had 70 followers. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna put this on TikTok, nobody's gonna see it. It blew up and we hadn't even finished writing the song yet. So
how did your co-writers feel?
Oh, they they kind of wanted to kill me at first, though they were also really excited. And, we shuffled things around to finish writing that ASAP, and and then we finished writing it on the next Monday, and then I went in the studio on Tuesday to record. I mean, because we started writing that on March 11th. So what is that? That's, I mean, not even, just over a month ago.
Wow.
I had to look myself.
I know. I mean, it's crazy how quickly things can happen kind of overnight, but I always believe that good things happen to good people. And I think you're one of those people. And I also think that luck comes to people who work really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that my grandfather always instilled in me is like the lucky people are the ones that work hard. You're more likely to get lucky if you're working hard. And I see, and I'm sure you see it all the time, scrolling through TikTok, new artist, hi, I just released an EP, new artist this, new artist that. And I think that to get your song through all of the noise of TikTok, to get to that 90,000, you'll be at 100,000 by the time we release this podcast. I guarantee it. But that's really, really neat. So this is a question I love to ask my guests on the podcast. You start your own podcast, and it's co-hosted by somebody who has literally nothing to do with what you do. So I'm talking polar opposite. I'm talking somebody who isn't in country, maybe, someone who could really be a great odd couple, let's just say, for you and this person to be hosting a podcast together. Who would you pick as your podcast co-host?
Oh man, that is such a good question. Oh my gosh.
I'll start while you think, because I haven't given my answer yet.
Please
I would definitely, I know it's like he's the biggest guy in the world and he wants to run for the for the presidency, maybe. But The Rock. I think The Rock and I have nothing in common in the most respect of the thing. You know, he is a family man, and I love my family to death. But, you know, he's this former wrestler, jacked, eats 20,000 calories a day, and bench presses like my house. And I think that could make a fun difference of my lame, nerdy, pathetic radio life with his awesome working out crazy life. So that would be mine.
Nice. That's a really good one. That's so good. The first person that came to mind, I mean, this lofty goal, anybody would want to do a podcast co-hosted with him, but I feel like LeBron James came to mind of like,
wow.
kind of, I don't know, this like, I think that would be, I don't know. I would be so nervous, obviously. But I mean, this like, you know, sensitive, like country singer, gay, white guy. And then this like, you know, superstar, like, I mean, godlike sports athlete, the king, you know.
I think I'd listen to that podcast, Chris, 100 times over.
Yeah, but we have, you know, kind of, I know that, we'd have some cool things to talk about, I think, but.
I definitely think so. And I think you've got a lot to say, and I think you've got a lot more to say to country fans out there. And so you're posted, and everybody can follow you, actually. Let's see if I can pull it up. Where is it? There it is. Here you are. And you can follow him right there and on everything, too. I actually just followed your YouTube account and listened to some of your covers. And
the old stuff.
Heck of a singer. You know, I will say, I have a couple of covers I did back when I was in high school, and I quickly hid those when I started up my channel again because, let's just say I'm better in radio than I am behind the microphone singing.
I want to see those now.
Maybe privately I'll send you one, but I mean, I think I did an Andy Grammer song, and a couple other things.
Nice. Yeah. I like have been getting these notifications of like, you know, in emails, like, you know, people are subscribing to YouTube channels, and I'm like, oh god, like I probably should go through and like.
I wonder what's on that.
yeah, exactly. Because I didn't connect them somehow, but.
Right. No, I'm totally with you. I get that. Like overnight when I started my radio gig in the morning, people are finding me everywhere, like LinkedIn. I'm like, why do you want to be my LinkedIn friend if you're listening to the show? So. Chris, this has been a real joy, and I can't thank you enough. I know we did the radio interview, and now I asked you to be on the podcast because I think do what you love. The podcast, it's all about people doing what they love, and I want to reiterate to everybody out there who's taken the time to watch this, one, thank you, and two, remember that we're all God's children, and Chris, you no longer have to choose between doing what you love and being who you are and loving who you love. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's such a good, I mean, I can't think of a more fitting title for my like last 2 years than do what you love. And yeah, if anybody that's listening and watching, if there's anything even remotely holding you back from like being your 110% self, then you just have to find whatever it takes to get rid of that and do what you love, because life's too short. And I mean, yeah,
that's a great lesson. That is a great lesson. And if anybody wants to reach out to him, it's Chris Housman Music at Chris Housman Music as well. And Chris, I know we're going to be seeing you again soon. I'd love for you to come out to Vegas, chat with Amy and I, and we'll get you on the stage at a couple cool venues.
Oh, that would be amazing, and a great excuse to go to Vegas. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we'll party it up too. Don't worry.
Perfect. Oh yes, awesome.
Chris, thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for doing what you do and doing what you love. And yeah, we'll talk soon. This has been so great.